Good morning, good morning. Yeah, an unusual outfit for me. You will have to excuse me. I've just come from a workout, and for that reason, I'm still in my workout clothes. It is the difference between having this broadcast and not having it. So I am hoping that I have elected to have the broadcast better than not doing it at all. And you will be willing to excuse. I'm so sorry, look what I've done. Okay, let me share the broadcast. Let me invite one or two people here, and then we will kickstart. If you happen to be here before we kickstart, bear with me. Can you join in the sharing of the broadcast and telling people that, as I promised, I am on I Need Science. This is my tuition page. It is about supporting children and children themselves, developing and supporting themselves to become better learners, to get better grades from the knowledge that they already have. So that's what this page is about. I'm just sharing this to my network so people in my other places do know that I am live and can join in. I will put it on a few parents groups so they know that Amma is talking. I will try very short, very snappy. And then I have accidentally closed the page, so it will take a few more seconds to reload. All I can do is apologize. Thank you for joining. If you are here already, please be patient a little bit. Let me call one or two people to join us. And then when those people are in, we will kickstart straight into the discussion. I want these broadcasts to be short, snappy, straight to the point, not waste a lot of your time and mine, but still allow you to derive the most benefit from the information I want to put out. So nearly done, nearly there. Once I've hit 2 more buttons to share to, we will be done. Good morning. Good morning. Actually, I can be an old cow sometimes. If I clicked to share to group, I would have been able to do it from here a lot quicker than what I was actually doing, clicking the individual things. How annoying. There we go. Right, so hopefully you've actually read my title. Hopefully you've worked out the fact that I'm going to talk about timetabling. Hopefully that bit is not news to you, so that when I kick into it, it's not a shock to you. I am talking about children preparing for exams. Doesn't matter if they are external exams. In this period in December, most children are getting ready for assessments of all types anyway. Even those not going for external exams are likely to be preparing for internal exams. And that's why when the inquiry came, I have chosen to respond to it as timely as I have done today. So a parent asked me, Amma, what do you think about timetables? And so my answer is, I think the world of timetables. I think they are so important. So she says, why? Well, a timetable is a way of organizing your study plan. Nana, hi, sis, good morning. It's a way of organizing your study plan, doing it so pictorially, so everybody can see. It allows you to see which subjects are receiving too much emphasis. And the funny thing is, the subjects you are good at are the subjects you like. They are the subjects you will end up revising if you don't have a plan. If you have a plan, you will actually notice that you are focusing on particular things. And when your kid makes a study timetable which is not realistic, you will know. So this is my son's timetable. Obviously, it is highly ambitious. Madam, good morning. If you look carefully at the top, it tells you from 3:25 to 4:10, he will be studying every day of the week, and that he will finish studying at 8:10 when he sleeps at 8 o'clock. Papa, which books do you want to borrow? Yeah, please. If I can send you ISBN numbers and whatnot, I will tell you about it. So he has a highly ambitious plan. He's just stuck his neck out. Why did you run over? What did you want to say? Hi. So it's very ambitious. The boy wants to start studying at 3:45. 3:25. He finishes school at 2:30. He gets home probably 3 o'clock. Has a little bit of a snack. But he is who he is. He sticks to it most of the time. When he can't stick to it and he lets go, I don't make a big deal of it. But sometimes for some children, it is worth discussing and making sure that that time is actually not too ambitious, it's realistic. This boy is suggesting that he spends all his time until he goes to sleep revising. Again, did not challenge him on that one because I know this one is very good with time management and he will adjust and he will augment. But the little one, we crossed out a few of those stupid things and we replaced it with something more regimented. When you look on a study plan, it helps you to see all the subjects that the kid intends to study. And you need to check it with your kid's subject. Is every subject giving a fair amount of time? Sometimes, so say on his Sunday, he starts with something light. He starts with Spanish. And then he does biology and biology. This was an interim plan. It's been augmented since. So he does 2 sessions of biology and then he repeats Spanish. So you will find here, even he has made that arrow to cross over because he realized writing it down that it wasn't making a lot of sense. So Spanish, biology, Spanish, business studies is a light day for him. The next day is computer science, physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, too heavy. Tuesday, biology, business studies, chemistry, physics, English. English is making an appearance for the first time over there. But English should be receiving a big emphasis. So once a kid writes a timetable for you and you have a look at it, you will see the subjects that the kids like. You will see the subjects that they dislike. They are the ones which will not have received a lot of time. Are you okay? They would not have received a lot of time, and those are the subjects you need to recompensate and make sure have received adequate timing, that a kid has time to work on the things that they are not achieving as highly in, to make the compensations they need to make so that their output improves. So I will probably limit this. Most kids will get home, they will have something light to eat. 5:30 is a fair time. 5:30 to 6:30 is one solid stretch. 6:45 to 7:45 is one solid stretch if the kid is in an exam class. If you have a younger kid, there's no need to let them sit solid for an hour. You may break it into half an hour sessions or 45-minute sessions depending on the child's maturity. 2 sessions of 45 each, which is an hour and a half, is more than enough for an average kid who is working consistently on top of what they've done at school that day. If they have homework, it can happen in some of the other time, or sometimes you might even give some of this time for homework. The idea is that you check. So you can see my kid, he loves the sciences. He is my son. So the sciences are heavily represented here. English has got some representation. I think English only made it 3 times onto here. And the sacrilegious error is that math has not even been written here once on this study timetable. Minister, that is better in the fabric, not on the wall. Clothing. So if you put it in the fabric, it will still come out onto the fabric here. And that's it. So just the fabric, not in the air. Okay, the air one is the one on the other side. You can switch that on. Mathematics has not made one appearance in this study timetable. He is good at math, but even he needs to revise math. Even he needs to practice math. he doesn't see math as something he needs to work on. And that's one of the things that you, the adult, looking over the child's study timetable, will be able to pick up and challenge them on. Why have you not got any math? Because I know it. How much math do you think you know? But I do know it. Do you think that you would maintain what you know if you are not revising? No. So we plan in some time. Typically, if you ask the exam boards, it would say the 2 hours of private studies a week per subject, 2 hours per subject. So if you break it into half-an-hour sessions, then you will have 4 half-an-hour sessions or 2 hourly sessions. Private study, not doing homework. Private study per subject per week. And if you think about it, your kid does, so mine does physics, chemistry, biology. And then he has math and English. He has computer science. He has Spanish. And what else does he have? I'm missing one of them. Business studies. 2 times the 8 subjects he does is 16 hours of private study a week. 16. If you have 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours every day, you will still have 14 hours of the 7 days. So one of those days you would need to do a little bit more. You would have to work on your timings, and those could be done over the weekend. So you may give a kid just 1 hour each or 1.5 hours each during school nights and make it a bit heavier over the weekend. It's entirely up to you. Hey, Manny. Good morning, good morning. Harriet, good morning. Listen, I want to explain the principle of study timetables. I want to explain how a good study timetable is constructed. I want you to realize what you need to be looking over, what should you be watching out for on a timetable, and empower your kids to do it themselves. It's better when the kid does it themselves because it gives it agency, it gives it credibility. The kid commits to doing it. But a kid committing to doing it without supervision might also have inaccuracies. So I took this just so you can see some of the inaccuracies on what he did. His timing was too ambitious. He did not even leave any time for breathing. And you know this is not going to be adhered to because it's way off. Not all his subjects are actually written in. And the subjects which are written in have not been given equal weighting of time. These are some of the errors you would see on a child's study timetable. And so parents should...
Sorry, it's not clear, but there's breaks.
Oh, so the young man says it's not clear, but there's breaks.
There's breaks between each period.
What? A 10-minute break?
15.
15-minute break. So the young man, to be fair to him, says there is a break of 15 minutes. And I still think it's very ambitious. I still think it's too ambitious. I think his life needs to have a little bit more balance than just all these number of hours trying to adhere to this, and there is no mathematics. No math.
You can take out English because you can't really study for English.
What do you mean you can't study for English? You should study for English.
How?
There is a writing strategy. You should be working through the assessment criteria, practicing. What do you mean you can't study for English? Please don't repeat.
Criteria make no sense to me.
Well, then somebody needs to help you understand the success criteria. It is going to be applied whether you understand it or not, you know. So you do study for English. You probably should study more for English. Equal weighting, go and redo this one and bring it. Let's have a look. Let's see if you can do this on your own as an improvement. Having eavesdropped on what I was saying, go have a look and see if you can make it better. I want no more than 2 hours of studies per night. Max. Wait, 2 hours.
Only 2 hours per night?
Max. Because the rest of the time will be spent on homework. This is not homework time. This is 2 hours of studies.
Only 2 hours a day?
Only 2 hours a day.
Nice. Wait.
This is your self-study. They
give us ridiculously large revision booklets. Trying to finish it,
No, that's different. This has nothing to do with the revision booklet. So you do your revision booklets, that's homework. That's different. This is private study. Harriet, reading, depending on the kid. I mean, these ones, we've got this funny thing of reading around the dining table. It's really annoying, but it's a habit which is stuck.
Wait, what?
Reading at the dining table. So with these, because reading around the dining table and around certain episodes happen, I don't really timetable reading, but they do read. I buy books quite regularly. We all read. But mine are older, so maybe reading does not need to be scheduled. If yours are younger, reading might be one you schedule in. Writing might be one you schedule in. We used to have that when they were younger. Now it's not necessary. Papa says the extra burden to be a teacher's child. Well, the extra support of being a teacher's child, the extra feedback from being a teacher's child, the extra opportunity to receive input when other kids are off roll. It's an advantage, not a disadvantage. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You wanted to say hello in your PJs? I'm not too sure about that one, but yeah, go on. And say hello. We still can't see you. You're gonna have to move yourself in. Hi. You happy? Okay, bye. Did you find your timetable? So I need a replacement then. Same thing as setting, and I no more than 2 hours. Max 2 hours. For you, I want it broken down into 4 30-minute sessions.
Wait, what do you mean no more than 2 hours? Of studying?
Of studying, private study. The rest of the time is for homework. And for doing the videos and stuff I give you. That's not part of this. Nope, that's supplementary. That's homework I give you. This is private study. And make sure every subject is on. Every subject receives 2 hours of private revision per week. And bring it back to me. So, yeah, this is an answer to what somebody asked me. And I wanted to do that session so she gets her answer and hope. You are too old for reading. So no, I'm not accepting 2 hours of reading. What's wrong with you? Harriet, I've actually addressed this week. If your son is lazy in reading, the books you are choosing for him are inappropriate. If he is unwilling to read, he is not one who likes fiction. Maybe you should look at other genres of books. You should look at different types of writing. Nadu, good morning. You should try different things which might be more stimulating. Because not every kid will sit and read text. The genre makes a big difference. The illustrations make a big difference. Even the context makes a difference. But because you've asked it, hold on 1 second. I will pull out a few books. I've just pulled some from our library. Some of these, he chooses the books himself, but he might still be a kid. So he might not be aware of the repertoire of books that he can select from. So these are all from Treetops. It's one of the reading schemes I really like. The Journey of Odysseus. What is funny is that this is actually a tough topic. But because it's the myths and legends, look at the text, the font style they've chosen, and the illustrations that break it up every now and again. Even if somebody is a lazy reader, when you see the illustrations, it doesn't feel like it's word after word after word after word after word. The subject might be as technical as possible, as heavy as possible. Look at high. And what I like for this scheme is the fact that they give you things to do before you read, so it helps to prepare the kid's mind for reading, things you do during the reading, things you do after reading, and then there is a quiz after you read the book. Yeah? Now read on, and it tells you what to do. Read the book cover. It tells you to read the blurb and the letter from the author. What kinds of things do you think will happen in the story? This is all things you do before the book. And for kids who are lazy readers, this makes a big difference. This little bit of focus work before they start reading. It piques their interest. It excites them. It helps them work out that there is something meaningful coming. It is not yet another book you've given to the kid. It says, read the back cover blurb, the letter from the author. What kinds of things do you think will happen in the story? That's the first thing. Flip through the book. Can you think of any reasons why the author might have used two different fonts in this story? There are two different fonts. So it draws the kids' attention to the fact that there's two different fonts to try and work out the reason why there's two different fonts. That's before reading. And then you read the book. After you read the book, it says, which of Odysseus' difficulties do you think he caused himself? Which were caused by his men? Requires knowledge from the book. What was the toughest adventure he faced on his journey? Reviewing the book. Book quiz. It tells you who is Odysseus' wife. Why didn't the other Cyclops come to help? Why did Penelope undo her work? It asks you a lot of things to do with the story. This is a very tough text. This is a technical text. This is one of the old academic texts. And so it makes it accessible. The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book also, this is level 15. This was level 16, one level up. The Jungle Book, you will find that the topic is not as heavy. The choice of font is slightly different. The illustrations are not as many and don't take center point as before. But just as you did for the previous book, you do things before reading, you do things after reading, and you have your quizzes. Good morning, Elstick. I hope you are well. That kind of kid who is reading lazy might be suited to these kind of books. This book, for a kid like that, is just a non-ending torture. Look at the text, the font size, look at the style, and it is text after text after text after more text. And if your kid is not an established reader, if your kid is not one who reads for enjoyment, who gets reading as a skill, giving them this book, for example, is going to kill them. Kill them. You might explore some other ones before. It's possible for you to even do these ones under the treetops, where you look at sports science, and there's a lot of pictorial representations. It takes you through the journey with text as much as with the pictures. Occasionally we flip into cartoons. Sometimes we look at reality-bound pictures. We work through different aspects of a story, sometimes breaking it down into subsections. Doesn't matter, but it allows certain kids who would have found it very laborious to read a full-on text to still continue to read, to still get information. This is Gulliver's Travels. Gulliver's Travels is level 16. Again, Gulliver's Travels is not a very light text. Look at the font choice. Look at the sizing of the font. There is illustrations. As you can see, the lower end uses color, the higher end uses black and white illustrations, but the illustrations still break it up. It is not every book which is suitable for every child. This is Frankenstein. The story of Frankenstein, again presented with funny animations. You can even tell from the title, from the front page. The choices of diagrams are themselves one that stimulates thought, it makes you think. And it has the focus before you read, things to do after reading. I talk to a lot of parents who say to me, my kid hates reading. Your kid hates reading usually because your kid has not been supported to become an effective reader. Your kid needs support. Some kids would be interested in text. Those kids can be given any size book and they will read it for enjoyment. If you are one of those kids or you have one of those kids, you are lucky. Some of us require a little bit of a push. Some of us require a little bit of a nudge to get us where you want us to be. And for those people, the compensations might be the choice of book. Maybe matching it to an area of interest, relating it to science like this one does. This is a reading book, but it's a reading book working on the power of plants. It's looking at photosynthesis and the role of plants in an ecosystem. This is a science topic. So the kid is interested in finding out about the science, but the kid is reading in order to find out about the science. Doesn't matter how you get them there, but you find a right way to get each child to read. So no, reading is not one you just give a kid a book and ask them to sit like most of them. Go and read. Not all of us can do go and read. Many of us do need direction in going to read. Many of us just need this bit which says before reading, Complete these activities to prepare the ground before you read. During reading, this is what I want you to be looking for. And after reading, this is what I want you to do. So reading is meaningful. Reading is impactful. There's a lot of kids who would have read many, many books, but would not have picked up much skills and much information because it was reading for the sake of it. Reading is not for the sake of it. Reading has to have a purpose. Reading has to have a design. Reading has to have a plan. We need to know why we are reading things. We need to know things after we've read them, and we should be able to demonstrate the learning after the reading has happened. So your choice of books might be one of the things to consider if your kid is a reluctant reader. You might want to explore with the child areas of interest and to target your book choices from the kid's area of interest. It might make an impact. Helping the kids to work out the reason why we read is usually a good starting point for many kids. So you might want to read with the kid together initially. You might want to read the book when the child reads it, or separate so you can talk about it. And your kid would love to read so they can talk to you, and talk to you from an intelligent point, so that you discuss text. We do that and it's so enjoyable. When I want to talk about the literature text and they've read it and they want to engage you and they want to challenge you, it's amazing. So my kids like reading, and they will read it and ask, Mom, have you read Macbeth? I'm like, yeah, okay. So what did you think about? And then a conversation starts. Amazing. Once you start conversations with the kids about things that they read, they are likely to see the relevance for it. And because they want to challenge you, because they want to demonstrate knowledge to you, they might read. What makes them read doesn't matter, as long as they get reading. What makes them write doesn't matter, as long as they get writing. What makes them practice comprehension does not matter, as long as they do it. So this one was a short one. I'm not going to spend too long on that one. We were just talking timetabling. I was talking through the principles of timetabling, and the maximum at the secondary school age range is about 2 hours guided revision per week per subject. If a kid does 8 subjects, that's 16 hours every week. You need to check the timetable, make sure that the timetable in Elsie, good morning, whatever time you've allocated does address the 2 hours minimum. As your kid gets close to an exam, year 11 kids might be looking at 2.5 hours, 3 hours of study time per subject per week. And make sure that those are actually planned for, they are written down, and that you do monitor and check the kids. It is not a reading session if it's written down for revision. Revision is not reading. Revision is an active process. You should see tangible results from revision. Sister Theo, good morning. You should see notes, you should see flashcards, you should see questions. It's an active process, so there should be things to demonstrate that the process happened. If your kid is lying on a bed with a physics textbook, reading it like an English comprehension text, there's a problem. You do not revise and prepare for physics that way. Have that conversation with the kids. Make sure that they have allowed fair timings for all the subjects, and that the time being spent for private study is at least the barest minimum recommended. If a kid can do more, great, but please do not overwhelm them with 6 hours of private study every day on top of what they've done in school. That kid will experience burnout very quickly, and you will not like to see it. A kid in burnout is difficult. It's really difficult to witness. It is so difficult to overcome. They run out of steam and they crash, and it's so difficult, so painful to watch. It's not necessary. A little bit of time spent regularly is what you want to do. And it's your job and it's my job to check what the kids have written down and what the kids are using for their revision, to ensure that it is fit for purpose. That's all I wanted to discuss today. If your kid hasn't made a study timetable, please have that conversation. Make sure your kid has it. It needs to be written down so that they have that accountability, so that you also have that in your oversight monitoring role, so you can check. Request to see what they've done this week for English so you can see it physically. Request to see what they've done for math. Request to check. Because you are interested and because you are likely to check, they will do it. They will show you, and they'll be learning alongside. Take this from me as my morning's gift. There are other things people have asked me, and I'm still pondering over some. I will group some together. I will treat some separately. I want to see how I feel when I've read your requests. But keep those requests coming. Whatever you want to discuss, whatever questions you have, keep shooting them. It really helps me refine my next broadcast in this section. Remember that on this page, my actual target audience is the children who are writing the exams themselves under your tutelage. So you might watch the video with your kids, or you might put it on for the kids to watch. I want you to see certain things and to learn certain things. But there are some things that are actually targeted for the kids. Make sure that when I'm doing the exam tech sessions, for example, that you share with your kids who are the ones going to write the exams. Good morning, sis. So that those kids understand what the command words mean and how to address it. It is supplementary if you, the parent, know. It is a disaster if the child does not know. So make sure that you are giving the kids the information which is relevant to them, and you are also accessing what is relevant to you. Much better if both stakeholders actually participate in watching the videos and discussing them afterwards once I'm done. Unless somebody has a particular question on timetabling and apportioning time for the various subjects, this is where I want to end my input. I hope it's been useful somewhat. I know it's very short, this one, but it was a very specific one, and so there's no point dragging it on any further. If there is no questions in the next 30 seconds, then I would pray and hope that what I wanted to say has been done effectively and you've picked it up, and not that I've done such a poor job you can't think of any questions to ask me. Check out, there are many reading schemes. I like Treetops because I've explained why I like them. But it's not just, it might not be age appropriate for all kids. My kids have moved on from there. My kids have gone on to serious text. We do read fiction and we do read reality. We read all manner of genres. They select and mom recommends so that we get the wide spectrum of things that they should know. If you want suggestions on books and stuff for voice and you want to get my recommendations, I'll give it to you, but there's absolutely no guarantee that your son will like it. You are the person who knows your kid the best, and you are probably the best person to make choices on things that would pique their interest. Anyway, no questions tells me that it's a good point. So thank you very much. I'm so grateful that you come watching and you share for me when I switch on the cameras. If you've not shared the video, can you hit the share button for me whilst we are preparing to sign out? You don't know who needs to know the message, who needs to hear it. So put it on your Facebook page anyway. Your friends might see it and they might share it with their kids. Please put it on your Facebook groups. Share it with mom networks that you know, dad networks that you know, so that people can have the knowledge to pass on to the kids. I want exam 2020 to be totally different from what happened on results day 2019 and the ones before. I want your kids to say that they've got the best they possibly could because they had access to all the information that is available in our own community. Thank you so much for joining. I am so grateful that you shared. If you haven't, please hit that share button before we go.